And we're live. Hey everybody, how you doing? It's your man James, Mr. Sequential Treasures, back again here with another one of our little discussion live streams titled Sequential Thinking. It's been a while since I did one of these. A lot going on in life, a lot going on in the world, in fact, and just wanted to make some time out here to talk about a little something. It's a little topic might be a little touchy to some people, but I think it's important to talk about these things because it really matters. It really matters in the greater scheme of things. But before we get into any of that. I want to thank any of you out there who are joining me for this. It's always good to have folks come in. I also saw that we've got a couple new subs to the channel. I've noticed the sub count was up ever so slightly, but hey, new subs is new subs. That's always a good thing. So if you haven't already subbed to the channel, go ahead and do that now and hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss out on great live streams like this here. And you can keep informed on everything we got going on here in Sequential Treasures HQ. And I hope you're all doing well. Hope you're staying safe, staying warm, especially you folks down there in Texas. Again, we're still all praying for you. We're hoping that the power issues and people being without water and electricity subside very soon, and that things can get back to relative normalcy for everybody down there. So we're keeping you in our prayers and our hearts, and hope you all are doing well down there. And so let's on with today's topic. Now, again, like I said, today's topic is a little bit of one that might be a little touchy to some people. I'm going to be talking about the blackwashing going on throughout all of comics and basically entertainment in general. And for those not familiar with the term blackwashing, it's a flip on the term whitewashing, which is where you take a non-white character or property and then turn it into something white and change the character to a white character or whatever. Blackwashing is doing that, where you take a white character or property and turn them into non-white. And that seems to be running rampant. This has been going on for years now that this has been happening. It's as I get into this, you'll see that. But it seems to be like a growing thing. And I think there are some far-reaching ramifications that no one has really thought about what this may do, not just to entertainment, but to society as a whole. There's already a lot of divisiveness. There's already a lot of partisanship in the world today, especially in the United States. And I see this as not just a symptomatic of all that, but in fact enhancing it and making it worse, in the immediate future and definitely on down the line. And again, I'll show you how this will go, because it's, again, it may seem like a small thing on the surface, but really it's not. And to get it out right up front, I am completely against all of this stuff. Whitewashing, totally wrong. You do not take non-white characters and make them white. It doesn't matter what your reasoning is, whether it be out of racism or marketing or money making or whatever your reason. No, you just don't do it. If you want to do a story with a white character, either use one that exists or create one. You don't alter one that is not white into white. And by the same token, pardon me, you don't do the reverse either with blackwashing and take a white property and make it non-white. Use the non-white properties that exist, or create some new non-white properties that will fit the mold that you're going to use with that white character. And that's what you do. That's the way to do it. That's meritocracy. That is creativity. That is the way to be, because anything less to me is just, it's insulting. It's insulting to the fan base of the original creation, and it's insulting to the group that you're trying to reach by altering it in that way. And again, we're going to get into all these points in this, and I think you're going to come to see this is really becoming a big problem, and it's really something that needs to be looked at more hardly and addressed and put a stop to on all sides, because this is just wrong. So we're going to get into that, and so the first thing we'll do is I'll stop showing you my face, because you don't really need to see me that much, and then we're going to go, because we're going to share some things. I got some stuff all set up for you guys so that we can start discussing this. And the first thing I got for you here, let me get it booted up here. There it is. This is Bounding into Comics, one of the few sites I really enjoy reading. They have a take where they are not afraid to shy away from topics like this. And as you can see here, Constantine rumored to be person of color in J.J. Abrams' production. Now, for those of you who don't know, John Constantine is a British character, a sort of I don't know if you would call him a hero, maybe an anti-hero. He's a mage. He uses magic and is involved with like religious iconography and things of that nature. And but he is, as you can see, a white British male. This picture of him is right here. This is John Constantine, and now they're going to race bend him or blackwash him in a production by J.J. Abrams, one of the people responsible for destroying Star Wars. We're gonna, a new rumor not only confirms J.J. Abrams is working on a Constantine series for HBO Max, but also indicates the direction he's going with the character. And you can see here's from the previous Constantine series they had on another channel. It wasn't HBO Max. I forget which one it was. I forget the actor's name here, but you can see here, this guy, does he not look like John Constantine from the comics? Yes, he does. He absolutely does. From Illuminerd, we learned that Abrams and the streaming service could be looking for a black indigenous person of color to play Liverpool's #1 wizard. The production is currently searching for an actor for the lead role, with hopes of casting a BIPOC actor in their late 20s, similar to a young Riz Ahmed, say the report. So again, here it is. It's blackwashing. We're taking a character that is historically white, that has always been white, that has been portrayed as white in every iteration we've ever seen, and we're going to change him because reasons, and it's not even that good of a thing. They make it clear that Riz Ahmed is the type which casting agents are looking for, and the actor hasn't really been approached. He is a Brit, though, so he fits the mold in that sense. So, again, but he's not John Constantine. He looks nothing like John Constantine. He is not in any way, shape, or form to be John Constantine, And, again, this comes back to the point of why are they doing this? And, again, it's just for woke points. That's all it is. And you have to imagine if it were the other way around, because in Constantine's world, there is another character. His name is Papa Midnight. And he's like, again, another sorceress type character. He is black. He dabbles in the dark arts. And, you could why don't you make a movie about him? If you want to do a black mage, well, there's Papa Midnight right there. You can use him. He's not any more, esoteric than John Constantine, I think. As far as that kind of thing is so he's not well known. Well, neither is John Constantine. So you don't have to change Constantine to do this. You could just go with Papa Midnight, and you can just use him. But they won't. But can you imagine the outcry if they race swapped Papa Midnight as white? You'd never hear the end of that. You would hear that it's blatant racism, it's proof of white supremacy, it's all these things that they would say, and that may or may not be true if it happened. But whether it would or not doesn't matter. The point is if you're not okay with that, then you shouldn't be okay with changing Constantine into a black man just because my reasons, because my diversity, because my representation, because my inclusivity. No, that's not reason enough to do that. If you want to play with the character of John Constantine, play with the character as he has always been. You don't swap it out that way. Again, it's degrading to both the current audience who love the character and the audience you're trying to reach. And you might say to yourself, well, okay, so they want to swap out Constantine. He's not a major character. He's kind of esoteric. He's not well known. I mean, God, people don't even remember that horrible Keanu Reeves movie from 2004. It doesn't matter. It's not like it's a big deal, right? It's just some small character. It's no big deal. Well, yeah, you could make that kind of a assumption about it. You could just say that it's no big deal because it's Constantine, and so no one should really care that much. But like I said, it doesn't end there. It never ends there. As I'm going to show you here, because it's not just, like I said, this isn't the first time they've done this. This isn't even like the second or third time they've done this. And, as you can see here, well, okay, minor character being changed, who cares? Well, okay, how about a major character like Supergirl? Flash director Andy Muschietti race swaps Supergirl. So now we're going to take Supergirl and take her from a blonde white girl to a brunette-haired, was it Latina, Latino, Latinx, whatever nom de guerre the woke are deigning to give Hispanic types today. This is what they're going to do. So here again. Here we go again. It's another one here. Flash director Andy Muschietti revealed that he race swapped Supergirl in the upcoming Warner Media production film. Muschietti made the announcement when he shared a video to his Instagram that shows him in a chat with actress Sasha Calle, which I'm guessing that's who we see here. And again, you can see just right here, I love that they put the pictures up this way because it shows exactly, you can see exactly the comparison. She looks nothing like Supergirl. I mean, outside of being, somewhat fair skinned, because she's definitely not as fair skinned as Supergirl, and lean, they have they do not look alike at all, not even close. And again, so when you say, well, Constantine, he's a minor character, who cares? Well, I think Supergirl is a pretty major character. She's had movies, she's had television series, she's been in the cartoon shows. I mean, she has all this merchandise around her. This is a big deal. And yet, once again, race swapped again. And in the video, Muschietti asked Calle, "Can you fly?" He later asked, "Do you want to fly?" Calle responds, "I would love to." Muschietti then states, "Well, maybe you will need this." He proceeds to pull out a Supergirl outfit. Muschietti then states, "Do you know what this is? You are Supergirl," except she's not. Again, here's this. This is Supergirl. This is Supergirl. Does that look anything like that actress we just saw? No. No, it's not even close. It's not even in the same realm. Speaking to Deadline, Muschietti revealed he was personally involved in the casting process. So again, this is a guy, he's not just this isn't being forced on him by suits from above. This is him making the decision. He goes, "I saw more than 400 auditions. The talent pool was truly amazing, and it was very hard to make a decision, but we finally found an actress who was destined to play this role." So a lot of truly amazing actors, but you couldn't find one who was truly amazing and also looked much more like the character. You couldn't find that. I mean, again, the hypocrisy of all this, the stupidity. According to Deadline, Calle is a Boston, Massachusetts-born Colombian actress. They described her as the first Latina Supergirl ever in DC, and that's true. There have been other characters to use the name Supergirl. There was the one, was it Sierra, during Stephen T. Seagal's run on Superman, but she wasn't, a Latina character. And then, of course, they say Power Girl is Supergirl from another alternate reality, and then you have Matrix, who took on the form of Supergirl from Lana Lang in an alternate dimension. But again, in all these characters, none of them are Latino women. There is, they could say, this is the first Latina Supergirl ever. And so again, why? For what purpose? I mean, why not just make a new character? You could make a super Latino character. That's great. But to alter an icon, to alter something like Supergirl that is worldwide known, it just makes no sense, except to pander and to tokenize people. Supergirl was originally created by Otto Binder and Al Plastino and first appeared in Action Comics 252 way back in May 1959. She was most decidedly a white woman. And there you go. There it is. And here they note that that she was also debuted to be Superman's cousin. So how is this going to work now with the Latino girl? With Henry Cavill as Superman. How is that going to work? How are they related now by cousins? I mean, again, these are things they never think about. They just do these things without even thinking. You see, they list all the other former types of Supergirls, but all of them, again, look at the picture. There it is. It's not a Latino girl. It's possible Calais' version of Supergirl could be from an alternate dimension or timeline. Michionetti previously revealed his Flash film would be adapting Flashpoint. So yeah, maybe that's how they're going to try to spin this now. Here it is. Back in January 2020, he stated it will be a different version of Flashpoint than you're expecting. So even with what they're going to use as their excuse to do this, it's part of Flashpoint, they're even altering from Flashpoint itself, because after the Flashpoint, Supergirl was still a white girl. She wasn't race changed. And they note here she's been played, first by Helen Slater in 1984 Supergirl film, and then Laura Vandervoot would play her on Smallville, and now recently Melissa Benoist is playing her on the current CW series. And again, all of these women are blonde white girls. They're not Latino women. So again, why the change? You notice they don't really get into too many of the details on why they're doing this, and I think that's a very telling thing. They didn't do it with Constantine. They aren't doing it here with Supergirl. And again, there's a reason for all this. They're doing this, I think, for purposes that aren't, creative in fashion. They aren't to, despite what they claim to be inclusive and to be representative. That's not what this is about. It's about something much darker, much more insidious than that. And I'm going to show you that because like I said, these two, you might say to yourself, well, these are just a couple examples. It's not a big deal. But again, this has been going on for quite some time. This is not new information. This is not the first or second time they've done this kind of thing. They've been doing this for years, literally for years. And here I'm going to show you just how much they have been doing this for years. Now here we go. Again, once again, here's John Constantine. This is I found all these variations where this has been done again and again and again. And I started out here with John Constantine, since he was the one that got this whole entire reason for this this live stream to roll. And I love the comment alone kind of spelled it out for me. Sorry to interrupt. I'm sure my invitation got lost in the post, right? He's a white guy not being invited to his own movie or his own television series. That's but here we are with Haley Bailey playing the Little Mermaid, Ariel. Here's the classic version, and then you see her. Doesn't look like the Little Mermaid, does it? We got Anna Diop, who I'm probably stepping on that name, but who plays Starfire in the Titans TV series. Again, look at the two characters. Do they look interchangeable? A golden woman versus a black woman. And again, this one, again, it doesn't make sense why you would do that. Now we got Batwoman, Javisa Leslie. Again, here's Batwoman, and then doesn't even look remotely the same, does it? Probably one of the earliest of these is this right here, Sam Jackson as Nick Fury. It's just another change. Nobody, they just do these things almost willy-nilly. Journey Smollett Bell as Black Canary from the Birds of Prey film. Again, this does not even look remotely similar, not even close. This one, to me, is like one of the worst, was Mishad Brooks as Jimmy Olsen on the Supergirl series. I mean, when non-white people think of the milquetoast white person, they immediately think of Jimmy Olsen. And yet here you've race swapped him for someone that is completely, nothing like Jimmy Olsen. I mean, this is a character, again, everybody knows who Jimmy Olsen is. Superman books have been around for years. He's been in the movies. He's been on television. The character is well known. This isn't some small, side character no one's ever heard of. This is Jimmy freaking Olsen. The whitest of the white boys. I mean, Michael B. Jordan as the Human Torch, which, again, this got a lot of blowback at the time, and, people were attacked for having an issue with this, but it's they were right to have issue because, you know, Johnny Storm, again, not just a major character. I mean, you know, he helped start the Marvel age of comics in the 60s with the Fantastic Four. He's also the brother of the Invisible Woman. You know, their family. So to race swap him of all people, I mean, you know, how does that work now? I mean, because that changes the whole dynamic, not just in the team, but between Sue and Johnny. Because now he's not her brother, you know, by blood. He's at best a brother by what? Adoption? You know? I mean, the whole experiences they would have together as quote unquote siblings would be completely different with this. And yet, you know, people were attacked because they took issue with this being done. And yet again, if it was in the reverse, if you took, say, Luke Cage, Power Man, and you made him white, the same people attacking those who have a problem with this would say that was white supremacy, and that's white people being racist and trying to erase black people from history and from entertainment and from view. But yet this that alters multiple fundamental, you know, character traits of this character. You know, his connection to his sister, his connection to the team, his connection to history. And it doesn't seem to matter to these people. Here's what I want to hear. Little Orphan Annie. You can see here, I love this because it spells it out. You can see 82, 95, 99, 2014. One of these things is not like the other. One of these things just isn't the same. You know, again, if you want to do a story about a black orphan, cool. Make a movie about a black orphan. But don't alter Little Orphan Annie, because for decades, she's a redheaded white girl. And you can see over time, they played it that way for a long time. There was no reason to change it. None whatsoever. Well, at least no legitimate reason. Now, you might look at all these and say to yourself, well, yeah, but these are all fictional characters. You know, all of them, whether they're big names or small names or irrelevant or relevant, doesn't matter. They're all just fictional characters. Fiction can be changed at a whim. That's the whole point of fiction, is it can be anything you want it to be. Yeah, okay. That would be a fair argument, perhaps, if we didn't have things like this. Jodie Turner-Smith. Now you're looking, who's this? She's an actress over there in Britain. For the BBC, she was in, I think it was a docudrama or a docu-miniseries or a, you know, some kind of like period drama piece where she's playing Anne Boleyn. Now, for those not knowing, Anne Boleyn is the most famous of the wives of one of the greatest monarchs that the British Isles have ever known, Henry VIII. And Anne Boleyn was a white woman. She was a real white woman. She wasn't some fantasy made up. She's not like King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, you know, and Maid Marian, who's made up. No, she was a real living person. Anne Boleyn existed as a human being. And here they are race swapping her here with Jodie Turner-Smith. Now, again, I'm not casting aspersions on any of these people's acting abilities. They could all be very, very great actors. You know, I have no problem with that whatsoever. But, you know, just because you're a great actor does not make you right for that role. It just doesn't. And, you know, this to me shows you how this is progressing now. It's no longer just small characters, you know, like, say, Tulip from Preacher, you know, that's being altered. It's not even big name characters like the Human Torch and Supergirl. Now you're actually starting to replace his legitimate historical live people. You see, this is how this stuff builds up. You know, this is where this goes. You know, you can't just erase people this way. You cannot do this. You know, this is why whitewashing is bad, because if you were doing it to black people, you know, imagine doing this to Martin Luther King or Rosa Parks. Again, the outcry would be so enormous that it would make the eruption of Mount St. Helens in 1980 look like a burp in comparison. And yet here, the people who had a problem with this were called racists. Oh, you're racist, you're against black people. No, we're not against black people. They were against altering history. changing history to fit some woke agenda, some ideology of race that is itself racist. This right here, folks, this is racism. Just as much as if you did it the other way. This is racism. You are swapping out a historical person and changing their race for ideological reasons. Not because it's true, not because there's anything to this, but because you just want to do it because you want to prove how woke and virtuous you are. And it shows the exact opposite. It completely shows the opposite. But again, these are the things that we see happening, and it gets to what I was saying about the reasoning is much more insidious. To me, there's only 3 reasons that you race swap, whether black to white or white to black. There's only 1 to 3 reasons you do it. 1 reason is revenge. The second reason is money. And the third reason is fear. You either do it because you're trying to strike back at a certain group, and this is a way to hurt them. We're going to take your stuff and make it ours, remake it into our way. 2, it's just a money grab where you think you can do this and it'll draw some attention to you. It will bring up some controversy perhaps, and maybe placate and try to pander to one demographic over another, in a way of trying to get money. Or 3, it's out of fear. You're doing it because you're afraid if you don't do it, you'll be the one called racist. Oh, look, we're doing a period piece in England set with Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn, but if we do it, they're all white people. We can't show that. That would be hurtful to non-white people who don't like seeing this stuff. Never mind that they could change the channel. Never mind that they could go watch something else. Instead, we're going to alter this so that we can be seen as woke, that we can be seen as virtuous, that we can be seen as anti-racist. Which again, that goes to this whole stuff that's going on in the larger world. Being not racist now is no longer good enough. If you yourself don't go out, you don't say racist things, you don't do racist things, you don't support racist things, that's not good enough to these types of people who are doing these things. You need to be anti-racist, which is proactive. You have to go out and destroy things in the name of anti-racism. And that's what I think all this is boiling down to a lot. It's you might think I'm picking on the black community, and I'm not. Again, I told you, whitewashing I'm also against. But if it seems like it's because the black community is more loud than others, but there are other groups who do the same thing. This is not universally or exclusively, just black people who are taking white characters and altering them. There are other groups who wish to do the same, as I'm going to show you right here with this fellow. This is a site here called Nerds of Color. And as you can see here in the title, Marvel, please cast an Asian American as Iron Fist by Keith Cho, which as you can see here, Keith Cho is obviously an Asian American. So it's not just white people. Not just black people who are doing this. This is others as well who are doing this. And this again, this guy is really going to get you down into some of this rationale they have. And he goes, here it is right here. Yes, I am proposing that a major comic book institution change the race of its popular characters as it transitions to a new form of media. In this case, I want Marvel Studios to cast an Asian American actor to play the lead in the upcoming Iron Fist show it is developing for Netflix. Now, this was from a few years ago. I remember this outcry from people saying that making Iron Fist white, a character who has been white since his inception in 1973, and that the fact that we're going to have a white character play a white character was somehow racist because he should have been Asian. You can't make this stuff up. It seems logical enough to me, though, as always, there are fans who are urging Marvel to resist changing his race. Gee, I wonder why. I wonder why they wouldn't want them altering the character from the source material, why they wouldn't want them altering the character into something he never was. I just can't wrap my mind around why they would be having a problem with that. Continuing. Now, I know the topic of cross-racial casting, and we're going to go on top of these, and you can see it's another one of his posts, obviously from November of 2013. I'm sick of white dudes. I mean, can you get more racist than that? I mean, the title alone, just right there. It's not as if this is some, he doesn't have, this tells me right here he has animus towards white people, and specifically white men. This is how he feels, So again, this is coming from a place of hatred, I believe. This isn't coming from a place of inclusivity and representation and equality. No. This is from a place of hatred. What I say were the 3 reasons why they do this stuff. What was the first one? Revenge. And this right here would tell me this guy has that sense of wanting revenge. Has come up time and time again here at Nerds of Color. And while there are a contingent of fans who don't think such things matter, or worse, are vehemently opposed to such casting choices, and here again, we'll look at this, why an African-American Human Torch is important, or comic fans are racist and kind of unimportant. So the audience doesn't matter. Screw the audience, screw the character, screw the history. It's all about race. And, again, what could be more racist than thinking this way? I can't help thinking that Iron Fist gives Marvel a chance to add even more diversity to its interconnected cinematic universe. Now, by diversity, of course, he doesn't mean actual diversity, like diversity of thought and diversity of characterization and diversity of, storyline. No. His whole thing of diversity is just skin color. That's it. Race. It's all that matters. All these people who claim diversity is always either race, gender, or sexual orientation, which, some have called that faux diversity. And I get why they call it because it's not really about diversity when you do those things. And I understand, but I think it's a little inaccurate. A more accurate term that I use for that type of mentality is superficial diversity. It's only what you see on the surface. How they look, what color are they, what gender are they, who do they have sex with? That's what matters. But when you go down into the character, there's not really much of a character there. One of my go-tos on this is Riri Williams. You oust a white guy, Tony Stark, and you put in a black female to be Iron Man. Never mind that, the name alone, it has the problems. But forgetting all that, what was her thing? Why was it so important she take on the role? What's so great about this character that it makes sense that she would take up the mantle of Iron Man? And she's the black female hero. It's like, yeah, I get that. Why is she Iron Man? Because she's a black female hero. And there's nothing deeper than that than these people go for. Brian Michael Bendis himself, who co-created the character, said that his whole reasoning for creating Riri Williams was just so his adopted black daughter would have a character that looks kind of like her in the books. That's it. He didn't think about like some great story or some great angle or some great idea. It was just, I want a character that looks like my adoptive daughter. Again, superficial diversity, not real diversity, because he didn't put any thought into it. It was just superficial. And, people who have read the books, and I've seen many reviews by people, on Riri Williams' runs on her books during her run in Iron Man. And a lot of them said things like, if you actually look at how the character acts, they act more like a villain than they do a hero. And yet you're supposed to root for her, even as she screws things up. And while she screws things up, she gets patted on the head and everyone validates her and praises her. Again, it's tokenization. Pat the black person on the head. Oh, you're so smart. You're so good. That's disgusting. That's, I'm a white guy. And if someone did that to me, I would be offended. Don't patronize me that way. What's wrong with you? If I screwed something up, you tell me I screwed something up. You don't come out and pat me on the head. Oh, you're a good boy. No. If I were a black person seeing all this stuff going on with characters, it would annoy me. I would be annoyed out my ass at this. Like, how dare you pander to me like this? You're telling me that I'm not worthy of creating new characters for me that I can enjoy. No. All I deserve is the second-rate, revamped hand-me-downs of white characters. You know, we're just going to alter it. We don't give you a story about undersea people who are black. We'll just make the Little Mermaid black. You know, we won't give you a story about a black orphan, you know, with a great story behind her. We're just going to take Little Orphan Annie. We'll make her black. You know, we're not going to create a great superhero for you. We're just going to turn, you know, we're just going to turn Supergirl black or Latino or whatever. And that's all they do. And that's degrading. I mean, I don't see how anyone cannot see that as racist. But yet here this guy is saying it's a chance for more diversity. And I love this next bit, not to mention that this is a case where changing the race of the character has the potential to actually add layers of depth and story of said character, which is completely false. It is the exact opposite. You're taking away layers. You're taking away, you know, gravitas and interest of the character, you know, by doing this. You know, and I'm going to show, and I'll show you that here in a minute as soon as I get through a little more of what he says here. You know, in my mind, casting a young Asian American in the lead role does nothing to change his classic origins. He can still be the son of a wealthy businessman. He can still accompany his family on an expedition to seek out Kunlun. He can still train under Li Kung the Thunderer. He can still seek revenge against the man who killed his father. Daddy being Asian American precludes none of these things. True, it doesn't, but it precludes other aspects to the character. One of which is he's the fish out of water. He's a white guy in an Asian world. You know, he's the outsider. He is not one of them. He is not even remotely or tangentially connected to that world in any way, shape, or form. So to take away the fact that he's a white guy actually does take something away from the character. It takes away that outsider feeling. It takes away that fish out of water thing that you have with characters like this. You know, you can make a character fish out of water in many ways. Like Buck Rogers, for example, is a great example. You know, he's a fish out of water. Why? Because he was frozen for 500 years in space and then returned to Earth 500 years later. The world has completely changed from what he knew. He's a fish out of water. Now you can say, well, you could change that and just, well, you know, we'll just make him this and make him that. It's like, but no, you can't. You know, you can't. If you changed Buck Rogers in certain ways, you would lose that aspect. Like, well, let's just, you know, make him black. Well, but then maybe the world would look at him differently in that way. He wouldn't be part of that same world in that way he was before. You see, you can't just change these things about characters and say, well, it'll just add and it won't subtract. It absolutely detracts from them. Absolutely it does. He goes, what does change, however, in making Danny non-white is that it removes the white savior syndrome of the original story. And I'll get into this in a minute because, you know, again, he's nobody's white savior. You know, again, this is obviously someone who's never really read the character. See, I've read lots of Iron Fist stories. I know the character. And, you know, white savior? Nah, not really. You know, and he continues, in the comics, it turns out Danny is the most gifted student Li Kung has ever trained, because of course he is. For all the fans who might decry an Iron Fist race bend, do you really want another white guy is better at being Asian than the Asian story? Now, that right there is probably the most racist statement he makes in all of this, because now he's the one doing the racism. He is stereotyping all Asians as what? All Asians are good at martial arts? That's ridiculous. You know, just because you're Asian doesn't mean you're going to be good at martial arts. So how is he? So are martial arts only for Asian people? Is that how that works? We're going to segregate, you know, skill sets and abilities. Oh, only Asians can be good at martial arts. And if you make a non-Asian do that, well, then now you're out Asianing Asians. It's no. You know, I knew a guy. You know, I had a job 20 years ago working at a place, and there was a guy there who was Asian American. He was a customer at the store, and he was Asian American. And let me tell you, he was no Bruce Lee, he was no Michelle Yeoh, he was no Jet Li. This guy was not anyone you would think. He had no, you know, martial artist skills at all. You know, he was a short guy. He was a little overweight. Believe me, he was nobody who was going to be some kung fu fighter over here. You know, if me and him were to have fought, I would have had better skills at doing martial art moves than he would have because I was taller and leaner than him. You know, so there, by this guy's own token, here's the white guy being better at being Asian than the Asian person. But see, that just proves the whole point. Martial arts isn't an Asian thing. It's just a fighting discipline that anybody can learn. And some people may be better at it than others. You know, there could be a black guy who could be a better, you know, martial artist than Iron Fist. So is now the black man out-Asianing the Asians? I mean, how does that work? You see, it's all ridiculous, but, you know, it's all rooted in their own race hatred. Like I said, you saw his one post there, I'm sick of white dudes, right there. And this is just more of the same. This is him, you know, he's actually trying to he's showing off his hatred of white people and also his racism towards Asian people, thinking that only Asians can be good at martial arts. But if Danny is an Asian American, the scene of him embracing the ways of Kunlun can be viewed through the lens of cultural reconnection, except that's not what the character is about. The character isn't about cultural reconnection. The character is about being an outsider who has to take on this role that he had no knowledge of and was never prepared to do, and it is sort of thrust upon him. Again, see, once again, you're destroying what the character is for something it never was. You know, and it just shows the bigotry of these people who would then call you bigots. You know, and here he continues on. It also helps that with essentially a Heroes for Hire show on the horizon, appearances by the Daughters of the Dragon, Colleen Wing and Misty Knight, can't be that far behind either. If that happens, it'll be nice to see a romance between Rand and Knight played out on screen as an Asian male black female relationship. So once again, see, it's, you know, here you have his superficial diversity, because if Danny Rand is a white guy, it's a white guy with a black woman. Isn't that racially diverse? But that's not good enough for this guy. He's got to take the racism even deeper. You know, this is, again, it shows his hatred of white people and the racism he holds towards, you know, the bigotry of low expectations. There's also the other argument that says making Iron Fist Asian American is unnecessary because we already have Shang-Chi. Well, to that I say, white folks already have Captain America, Thor, Spider-Man, Iron Man, the Hulk, Wolverine, Daredevil. I mean, I can keep going. Well, you know, that would be a good point if that was all there was those types of characters. I mean, he's talking about Western comics in the Western civilization in America and, you know, Western Europe, you know, and so that's what you get there. But if you want super powerful Asian superheroes, guess what? There's a little thing called manga, and it's got tons and tons of Asian characters with superpowers and, you know, kick-ass combat and, you know, Dragon Ball Z and Appleseed and, you know, Ghost in the Shell. And I mean, there's a whole ton, Dirty Pair, a whole ton of things that are done that are not white characters that you find in Japan, in China, in, you know, Southeast Asia. You know, you go there, and because these are the people who are making those books, and what are they doing? Well, they're not using a whole lot of white people in those books. Why is that? Are they racist, or is it more that, well, this is what they know, their culture, their world, what they know, it's all based around that Asian culture, and so that's what they base everything on. They see more, there's more Asian people in Japan than there is white people. There's more Asian people in China than there is white people. There's more Asian people in Indonesia than there is white people. So maybe they're seeing the world around them where there's not a lot of white people, so when they make their manga works, they tend to make them all Asians because, well, that's what they see every day. Whereas in the West, in Western Europe and in North America, well, you're going to see a lot of white people. So you're going to base your stuff off of white people. Not that you're trying to forcibly exclude non-whites, but again, the world that you're in, you're going to see more of that than anything else. So, I mean, so are mangas racist because they don't have white people in them? I don't think he would say that. But yet somehow it's racist because Western comics are primarily focused on white people from Western Europe and North America. You see, it doesn't make any, again, all their rationales, their quote unquote, their reasonings all fall apart under scrutiny like this. And he takes it even further. Also, while Shang-Chi is cool and everything, his inclusion in the Marvel Cinematic Universe won't increase the number of Asian Americans because Shang's from China after all. Plus, he doesn't have superpowers or shoes. So now he's denigrating the characters that are there. You see, now it's not good enough. Here's an Asian character that's good at martial arts like he wants and has a great backstory. In fact, I mean, Shang-Chi's story is great. I've read the Master of Kung Fu comic series. It's great stuff. And but yet that's still not good enough because, well, he doesn't have superpowers, to which I would say, well, neither does Captain America or Iron Man. I mean, Cap was injected with a drug to make him the physical peak of human ability, you know, but he's not superhuman. He can't like lift cars over his head, and he can't like, you know, move at super speed, or he can't like plow through a wall and, you know, like he's indestructible. He's the peak physical fitness of a human being. You know, he's better than the average human, yes, but, you know, Olympic athletes could train to be that kind of a level, you know? So Cap doesn't have any superpowers. And Iron Man, you know, his powers are in the suit. If you take the suit away, what powers does he have outside of being, you know, a super genius like Wile E. Coyote? What do you got? He's got nothing. He's just a guy. No powers. You know, Spider-Man, his powers are inherent. He can stick to walls. He can have his spider sense warn him of danger. He has a super strength and super speed and agility, even if he's not in the costume. But without the costume, Iron Man is just a man. So even here with his, you know, and again, you know, look at all the ones he leaves off. He says he can keep going. Well, I noticed he didn't keep going and mention people like, oh, I don't know, Hawkeye, Mockingbird, Black Widow. All these people also do not possess superpowers. But yet we all refer to them as superheroes. Why? Well, because they hang around with characters who do have superpowers. Hawkeye, Mockingbird, Black Widow, they're all members of the Avengers. They're hanging around the Hulk and hanging around Thor and hanging around, you know, Hercules and all these super powerful characters, you know, whose powers are inherent. Because that's the whole thing of us about superpowers, is it's coming from within. You possess the power. It's a part of you as much as your arm or your leg or your eyes. So again, once again, another flawed and failed, you know, comparison he's trying to throw here. Oh, well, there's all these white characters who, and then Chang doesn't have powers. Well, but there are plenty of white characters who are quote unquote superheroes who have no powers. Most famous among them, Batman. Batman has no superpowers. You know, he's like on par physically with a Captain America. You know, there it is. They don't have superpowers, and yet Captain America and Batman are seen as two of the greatest superheroes ever. The two greatest superheroes ever, just about, and neither of them have superpowers. So why is it got to be that because Shang-Chi doesn't have superpowers, well, he doesn't count? You know, you're going to discount what's already there, then, you know, why should anyone make anything more? Why should they do anything that you want? Because you obviously don't care anyway. So you see, again, this kind of bespeaks to the secret reasoning of why he wants this. And it has nothing to do with representation. It has nothing to do with, you know, inclusivity. It has to do with revenge. We're taking something away from white people. We're taking it away from them and making it ours. And again, this is something you will see time and again with all of this. You know, and here we'll close out with his closing here. Speaking of China, it seems that some folks think that cross-racially casting Iron Fist is a crass pandering to the ever-growing Chinese consumer base. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but, you know. It was my wanting Asian American representation in the Iron Fist character has nothing to do with the marketing demographics of 1 billion people on the other side of the world. Which I'll agree. I know that's not what his reasoning for wanting that is. It's not has nothing to do with, you know, the Chinese market. You know, I want the Marvel Cinematic Universe to reflect the demographics of the real world as much as possible. Well, if you're in the United States, then that demographic should be mostly white because that's the majority in the United States. So if you have less amounts of black characters, less amounts of Asian characters, less amount of Hispanic characters, well, then that's correct because they are lesser portions of the demographics of the United States and Western Europe. But see, again, so he does, but see, so he doesn't really want that. What he wants is, again, he wants special treatment. He doesn't care what the actual demographic number. If the Asians in the United States are, say, let's just say they're 5%, and then when we look at the characters in the Marvel Universe, maybe 5% of the Marvel Universe characters, 5%. Well, there's your representation. Well, that's not good enough. I want 50% Asians. It doesn't matter that the real world only has 5 in America. I want 50% in the Marvel Universe. And so it's not really about representation now, is it? It's about taking something away from a group you hate. And again, he definitely gets into this. He goes, the Defenders show on Netflix with Luke Cage and Jessica Jones representing is a step in the right direction. But I feel that diversity for all is naught if yet another blue-eyed blonde superhero takes center stage. And so there it is. At the very end, he tells you it's not about representation. It's not about inclusivity. It's not about having cool stuff for himself and people who look like him. It's not any of the reasons they always use to hide behind. It's not because it's a greater idea or makes the story better or creates an interesting adaptation. No, none of that. It's just take something away from people I hate. Take it away from them. I hate them. I want them not to have it. I want you to take it from them. And that's what this all is. See, again, what are the 3 reasons? Revenge, money, and fear. And this guy is definitely on the revenge side. There's nothing else to say about this dude. I mean, this is probably one of the most racist pieces I've read in a while, because it's just so blatant with the hatred that he obviously, the animosity and the animus he has. But again, he's not the only one. There's plenty of others out there. Again, I'm going to show you some more here. It's another. This time we're going to do a little on the video side, because we're going to watch a video. And I think this, to me, this bespeaks to it in like the most direct way you possibly ever could. This is this right here. This is from the Now This, which is a very well-known leftist, ideologue type of channel. But you can see it right from the title, the myth of blackwashing fictional characters in movies like Deadpool. And so now we're going to see this woman here, this young woman, is going to talk about how whitewashing bad, but blackwashing good. And you're going to see she's going to expose the hypocrisies and the hatred that she holds within herself, and how she intimates all this to you. It's amazing. So I'm gonna play this for you, and I'll take breaks in between and pause it, as it plays, so that I can make my points. But here we go.
Whitewashing is a problem. From Liam Neeson in Batman Begins to Scarlett Johansson in Ghost in the Shell, and well, pretty much any U.S. anime adaptation ever. Dragon! Whitewashing is when Hollywood takes a character who is a person of color in the source material and casts a white actor for the final portrayal to see on screen. But what about when a white character is played by a person of color on screen?
So there you go. That's whitewashing. And on that, they're absolutely correct. Exactly. That's what it is. That's what you do. And again, it could be, now again, most people would aspire that to be racist, and perhaps it is, but again, I think sometimes it's not done out of racism. As she noted, Liam Neeson in, playing Ra's al Ghul, an Arab character, and he didn't, I don't think he did it out of racism. They did it because Liam Neeson is a big name. He's a huge star. His name is a box office draw. This is something that you will see over and over again. And and so, I mean, sometimes I don't think the reasoning has to do with racism. It has to do with, other factors. But whatever those factors are, it doesn't matter. She is completely correct. When you do that, that's whitewashing, and it's wrong. You should not do that. Do not alter the characters to fit, your market, or to fit some ideology, or to even just play up, because you think you can get more money. You just don't do that. But now we're going to get into, she mentions the blackwashing now, where a white character is remade into a person of color.
Representation might upset some people who can't accept popular comic book characters like Nick Fury, Johnny Storm, and Domino as people of color, but this thing some people call blackwashing is not a problem.
There it is. It's not a problem. It's not even a thing. But whitewashing is, though. Whitewashing is absolutely a problem, and it must be stopped at all costs. But when we do it, it's okay. You can't You can't complain about that. You're racist if you complain when we do what it is we complain when you do. You can't do that. You can't tell us not to do those things that we say you shouldn't do. You know, the hypocrisy begins already. And look, we're only 30 seconds in, and it's already got the hypocrisy going.
Not even a thing. But let's start with why whitewashing is so harmful. Despite all the amazingly nerdy movies and shows coming out in the recent years, people of color are still barely represented. Look at any random trailer or poster, and odds are you'll usually see a white person as the lead.
Yes, of course, unless you pay stricter attention and see movies like Spawn, like Blade, like Black Panther, like Storm and the X-Men, like if you don't pay any attention to these things, well then yeah, all you'll see is the white people. But of course, black representation, the Falcon in Captain America: Civil War. And oh, black people aren't being represented at all. Oh my God, it's just all white people. All these characters being put on a screen, and there's like no black representation. Just more lies.
So when Hollywood takes one of the few examples of canon representation that we do have and casts a white person for whatever reason, they're taking away an opportunity for us to be seen.
So I agree with her on that, in the fact of, you don't do that. If the character was non-white, then they stay non-white. But by the same token, if the character, original source material, he was white, then he stays white. You don't change it to fit somebody's agenda. You don't change it to fit some ideology. You don't change it to get some woke points. You just don't do that. The reason you don't do blackwashing is the same reason you don't do whitewashing. Because it's unnecessary. Because in the end, it's all unnecessary. If you want more black characters, create more black characters. You want more Asian characters, create more Asian characters. No one's stopping you. And again, like I said, like in the point of, like, she even made it here about American adaptations of anime and manga, where they will insert white people and take out people who are Asian, because the characters originally are Asians. Because where was it originated? Oh, in Southeast Asia, where Asian people are writing this, and Asian people are drawing this, and Asian people are creating this. And so they're basing it on what they know from their lives and their experiences. And so the Asian characters there, yeah, there you go. You want Asian characters, there's manga right there for you, filled with them. Black characters, there's, plentiful black characters. I named just a few who've been in the films already. Then of course, you got Luke Cage. You got plenty of black characters. You don't need to blackwash white characters to give black people characters to enjoy. They already have some. You could start using them more often. And if that's still not enough, you can always make more. Nobody's stopping you.
For me personally, this was especially egregious in the Avatar: The Last Airbender movie. I was very attached to the show's character Katara, from her dark skin to her great big poofy hair, and the fact that her mom had the same name as me. I was crushed when I saw white actress Nicola Peltz in the movie adaptation, because it erased the aspects of Katara that I saw in myself.
So right there, she only likes the character because she thinks they're black. And just so you know, the character of Katara, I found this out. I did some referencing. She is not a black character. She is Inuit, or as maybe us here in North America would call them, Eskimo. She's an Eskimo. She's not a black. She's not black. She's not white. She's Eskimo. She's Inuit. That's what she is. But this fool only saw a darker skin tone, and so she immediately thought black. So right there is racism right off the bat. She's not even paying attention to the actual race the character actually is. She's just inserting the fact that, well, she's got skin darker than a Caucasian, so therefore she's black. And that's not how that works. So right there is racism. But then again, she only could relate to the character because she thought it kind of looked like her, because it had poofy hair and had a darker skin tone than Carrot Top. I mean, that's what you need. You can't, how, again, this is their bigotry, their hatred showing through. You're telling me you couldn't watch a character who was white and feel a connection? I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, I know plenty of black folks and non-white folks who love Star Wars, who love Princess Leia, who love Luke Skywalker. These are blue-eyed white people. And yet, people love them. These black folks and these Asian folks who love the movies and love those characters, the fact that they're white didn't stop them from being able to connect with them the way she says she connected with Katara. You see, they didn't need the character to look exactly like them to go, oh, that's like me. They saw something else within the characters, their strength, their convictions, their passions, their flaws. These are the things that make the characters characters. These are the things that made them great and why they love them so. So much so that, like, when they're mistreated, as like Luke Skywalker was in The Last Jedi, people get righteously pissed off. Not because, oh, you're doing it to a white guy, but because you're doing it to this awesome character that we all love, that we grew up loving, that we all of us, you know, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, we all grew up with this guy. We all know what he's about, and this is not him. You are totally trashing this character, and that's why people were so upset. Not because he was white, but because they disserviced the character. That's what you get mad about. And again, people of all stripes have felt that way. It's not just only white people felt that way about Luke Skywalker. But see, again, this is her bigotry. This is her racism. I can't like it unless it looks like me. I mean, imagine a white person saying that. Oh, I could never watch Luke Cage because he doesn't look like me. I could never watch Blade. He doesn't look like me because I'm white. No, that's stupid. Me, I love the Blade movies, and I'm a white guy. Those movies were freaking awesome. I could quote them day in and day out. Some of the great lines in there. You know? How many white people love those movies? But Wesley Snipes isn't a white guy. How could they have related to Blade if they didn't look like him? According to this person, they shouldn't have been able to.
On the other hand, having a person of color play a previously white character isn't taking away white representation. It's creating new representation and role models for people that Hollywood has ignored for too long.
No. What it does is alters an existing property and turns it into something it is not. That's what it does. Or again, in her case, because she's a racist and hates white people, it takes something away from white people and puts it in the camp of her camp. That's what it does. That's why she's for that. That's why she has no problem with blackwashing the way she does with whitewashing. You know, and there it is. I mean, you can't spell it out any more blatantly than this. She spelled it out for you right there. You know, it's, you know, they're not taking away white representation. It's like, but it's not about white representation. It's about the character's representation. You know, see, like here it is. She's showing you Michael B. Jordan as a Human Torch. He's not the Human Torch. Johnny Storm is a blonde-haired white guy who is the brother of Susan Storm Richards, the Invisible Woman. The biological sibling. To make him black erases all of that. You've completely changed the character and his dynamic with his sister and the team. It is not the same anymore. But yet, again, she's gonna go on here to explain to you, like, well, no, but that's okay when we do it.
When Michael B. Jordan took over as the Human Torch, it opened a door for a new narrative in which a black man and a white woman could be siblings long before This Is Us made a sub every Tuesday night.
So there you go. It's but that's not the Human Torch. That's not the character. That's not his story. That's not his conception. That's not the way he has, you know, that is not what his whole backstory is. That is not the character. You know, you can dance around it all you want. Oh, it creates a new narrative. I don't want a new narrative. I want the narrative of Johnny Storm as he's been portrayed for 60 years. That's what I want. I don't want the narrative you want of, you know, diversity of skin color. I don't want that narrative. I want the narrative of Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, the hothead teen kid who had superpowers and, you know, was part of the first great superhero team ever. That's what I want. That's the character I want to read about. And that's the character I want to see on film. Chris Evans was a great Johnny Storm. Now, I'm not saying Michael B. Jordan is a bad actor. He's done some good roles, but he's not Johnny Storm. Chris Evans was Johnny Storm. He embodied the character. And that's because he looked like him, but also the way he portrayed him. And because he looked the way the character is supposed to look, you can believe the connection to his sister. You can believe the connections he has with the team are the same as the one from the comic, from the source material. That's what matters. That's what should always matter. When you want to play in the sandbox of something that is not your own creation, You need to play with the way it is. You don't break the toy and remake it how you want. You play with it as it is. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Don't play with those toys. Just go away and create your own.
I think we can all agree that Michael B. Jordan is a pretty damn good actor, like, right? Despite the film's flaws, he's an extremely talented dude who absolutely did justice to the role. Johnny Storm's whiteness is not essential to his character.
Yes, it is. His sister is white. They are biological siblings. And the character, canonically, the character's entire ethos of his entire existence, he has been a white male, a blonde white male. That's what Johnny Storm is. That's what he is. And that is directly connected to his experiences, to his character, to everything else. Yes, it absolutely, you're wrong. Again, this is the mental gymnastics someone like this must go through to make you believe that somehow, oh, well, it's okay when we do these things.
The Human Torch has always been defined by his hot-headed attitude, so why should it matter if he's played by a black man?
Because the character is not a black man. If you want a black man character who can create flame, you could create a new character in a new book or a new series or a new universe and say, yeah, here's, Heat Wave, and there it is, and he's a black hothead, and then you can create your whole universe around that, and that's fine. Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, has a history. He has a backstory. He has a canonical, character, and part of that canon is that he is a white male. And no matter how you want to spin this, it's racist to change that, just as it would be racist to change Blade from a black guy to a white guy.
It doesn't take anything away from the role and gave kids of color a new hero to look up to. Same goes for Nick Fury. He's just a guy with an eye patch who's in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Again, and this shows her blatant ignorance to the character she's talking about. He's just a guy with an eye patch. No, he's not. Nick Fury is a character with a history, with a story. He has canon behind him that tells you who he is. He was a World War II veteran. You understand? And again, the thing that gets me is these same people want to tell you about, like, you can't talk to black people on certain things because you don't know their experience. You don't know the black experience. Well, okay, if that's true, if there's a difference between the black experience and the white experience, well, then when you take a white character and make them black, you're completely changing that character's, reason for being. For example, you would say, well, Nick Fury never had to face racism, in the army back when he was fighting in World War II. Where a guy like, if he was black, like Sam Jackson, well, he might have had to face that. I'm sure we're all familiar with things like the Tuskegee Airmen story and all things like that. That's the kind of thing he might have faced. That would alter the character from what Nick Fury is. The Nick Fury that we all know, the white guy. His experience would be vastly different from this Nick Fury's. So, right there, you're wrong. It doesn't change anything. He's just a guy with an eye patch who runs S.H.I.E.L.D. No, he's much more than that. And his experiences, by their own standard, by the standard of these woke identitarians, his whole entire character would be completely irrevocably changed by his experiences as a black man in the army versus being a white man in the army. And that's just one aspect. That's just one aspect I'm bringing up. I could go through others, but it makes the point. So right there, she's just wrong.
There's nothing about his character or his role that requires him to be white.
Except the history of the character, which has existed for 60 years, that says he's a white guy.
Now look at the Ancient One from Doctor Strange. They're from the Himalayas, teaching Himalayan culture and folklore. It's central to the character. But in the movie, the Ancient One is played by a white woman. It's a huge missed opportunity to cast an Asian actor in a role. The Ancient One could have been elevated to the same status that Samuel L. Jackson brought to Nick Fury.
So it's okay to change a white man's experience to a black man's experience and give the black man the white man role, But then when you have a role that's taken from someone else that isn't white, now it's suddenly a problem because you're denying a certain group that role. But then you're denying the white man the role of Nick Fury, who is a white character. But that's okay to deny those people. But it's not okay to deny Asian people. And, you know, it's kind of funny because even making the Ancient One a woman, well, that's a gender bender. The original Ancient One is a Asian male. So even there, they're trying to go for woke points. Look, we're inclusive. We gave the role of being the powerful, ancient, knowledgeable one to a woman. A woman was the ancient one who had all the secret knowledge. And even that's not good enough, you see. Even that, I mean, maybe they would have had an Asian woman. She might have been okay with that because now you got double points. It's still Asian, and now you got a woman too. But see, again, you can see the flawed logic in everything they say. It's okay when we do it. It's not okay when it's done to us.
He inflated Fury from a 60s James Bond homage to a movie icon in his own right.
In his own right. But again, is that the character of Nick Fury? You just said he's out of the mold of James Bond. So then why are you changing that? You know, who says that Sam Jackson's version is better? Who's saying that the character needed to be changed in that way? In his own right, well, the character as he was had, you know, strength of character and interest in his own right too. But that all gets brushed aside for the sake of woke identity politics.
Zazie Beetz did the same for Domino. I grew up watching Domino and Wolverine and the X-Men, where she's portrayed with comics accurate pale blue skin and a black circle around her eye. Now, she's a black woman with natural hair, and her traditional look is still there, right down to the eye tattoos, just inverted now.
See, again, totally changed, but it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't mean it's okay. It doesn't matter that we completely swapped all this stuff around. That's okay. Shut up, bigots. Only racists would have a problem with race swapping white people for non-white people. But if you race swap non-white people for white people, that's actual racism, and that's white supremacy, and that's evil. I mean, you know, your head can be spinning listening to these people.
But again, Domino in the comics isn't defined by being a white woman. It's not part of her character in any way.
Except that it is, because that's the history of the character. You know, again, we keep coming back to the source material tells you what that character is. And now if that's not the character you want to do, that's okay. You don't have to do that character. You can create another character of your own that will fit that mold, or look and see if there is a person of color who can fit a certain mold that you want to use. That's what you do. You don't say, well, I want to do this, but you know, this character is white. I don't want to do a white character. I want the character to be non-white. So I'll just change that. No. It's wrong when you change non-white to white, and it's wrong when you change white to non-white. It's wrong both ways, not just one.
Casting a black actress does nothing to damage the Domino we know. In fact, it just gives black nerds like me someone else I can cosplay as.
So right there, selfishness. It gives me something. It doesn't about that. It might take something away from other people, but it gives something to me. So you know, screw you. See again. Now we get down to revenge, selfishness. You know, completely dishonest and disingenuous. You know, she's hypocritical. I mean, she's hitting all the marks in this. Every single marker, she's hitting them all. You know, and again, as I proved with Danny Rand Iron Fist. Yes, when you race swap them, you do change things about the character. Again, Danny Rand is an outsider in the world of Kunlun. If he were Asian, he wouldn't be so much of an outsider. And that doesn't just affect him, that affects those around him. This is another aspect that I didn't get too much into, but I'll briefly hit on it here. Is it doesn't just affect the character you're changing; it can affect characters around them. One of Danny's greatest foes was a character called the Steel Serpent, who lived in Kunlun, who also trained, I believe, under the Thunderer. He was a competitor for the Iron Fist, and Danny gets it instead. And part of the reason the Steel Serpent goes the route he does in becoming a villain is because he feels he is an outsider. An unworthy outsider has taken ours, taking our honor by being given the Iron Fist. It belongs to someone from within. One of us here. One of the insiders should have this, not this interloping outsider. And that's why he becomes a villain against Iron Fist, is because he sees him as unworthy and an interloper to something that he had no business sticking his nose into. Now, if he's Asian, the way the other guy wanted, the way Keith Wong wanted, well, then all of a sudden now that entire aspect for the Steel Serpent is gone. Well, he's another Asian guy, just like you. I mean, maybe he's from America, but he's still Asian. He's still a Chinese American, right? Like you, you're Chinese. He's Chinese American. He's still the same race. He's still got the same sort of ancestry and all that, right? So now the whole thing about him being a complete outsider and an interloper, it's not really there anymore, is it? He's one of you. It's an insight. Now it's just basically what? Just pure jealousy. You got it and I didn't. And I'm jealous of you. I mean, sure, that could be part of the component with white Danny Rand, but that'd be the only component with Asian Danny Rand. Whereas with the white Danny Rand, you have the added layer of, oh, he's an outsider and an interloper. He's taking from our culture this outsider who is unworthy. That's key to the Steel Serpent's character. But now without him being white, you take that away. So see, once again, she fails to see, no, you do destroy the characters, and not just the characters you're doing it to, but characters that can be around them can be damaged in that way.
Someone who I can see myself in. Someone who I can watch on screen and feel represented. You can call it blackwashing, race bending, or whatever the hell you want. I just call it a good thing.
So there you are. There you are. She admits this is not because of representation. This is not because of fairness. This is not because of inclusivity or any of the buzzwords they use. It's good for me. It gives me something, and it takes away from people I hate. Therefore, it's a good thing. And there you have it. I mean, could it be spelled out any more for you? Now, again, you may be looking at all of this and saying to yourself, okay, James, you make your point. It's bad because it takes something away from one group to give to another, and it denigrates both groups in a way because you're placating to one and you're disenfranchising another. But come on, man, it's just entertainment. It's all meant in good fun. It's not a big deal. So what if she's a hypocritical, hateful, dishonest, selfish asshole? So what if she is? It's no big deal. It's just comics. It's just movies. It's just entertainment. It's not important, right? It's not important. It doesn't matter. Except I think it kind of does. I really think it does because, again, it doesn't end here. It's not like, well, we're just going to change these things in the movies and in the comics and in entertainment, and that's where it ends. No, it goes on. It goes further. It goes deeper. And then what you end up with is you end up getting to places like this. Once again, back to bounding into comics. Coca-Cola reportedly cites Robin DiAngelo in diversity training, tells employees to be less white. I mean, what? You see where this goes? Do you see how insidious this stuff is? See, it starts out small. Oh, we're just race bending a comic character, or we're just race bending a classic, movie iconic character to be more representative to a certain demographic and to be more inclusive. And that's how they make it all sound like, oh, it's such a good thing. And then you end up here, where you have people in the real world being told to be less white. Let's break into this little jam here. The next time you order Coca-Cola, it might come with a complimentary side of white guilt. According to screenshots shared by Twitter user Lefty Moments, Coca-Cola has begun to incorporate the teachings of white fragility and social justice and critical race theory propaganda proponent Robin DiAngelo into their corporate philosophy. Excuse me. And you can see the Coca-Cola logo in the upper left-hand corner of the screenshots. And it's And I think later down here, let's see. Yeah, there is Karen Sorbenko, I think is her name. I know I'm probably stepping on my name. I'm sorry, Carolyn. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to hurt you. I just that name is a little bit tongue-tying for me. But reportedly taken during a Coca-Cola hosted virtual presentation of Confronting Racism module, the D'Angelo Confront Racism with Robin DiAngelo course. The screenshots feature two sides, one telling viewers to try to be less white, the other listing the ways one can be less white. To be less white, declares the second slide, it is less oppressive. It is to be less white is to be less oppressive, less arrogant, less certain, less defensive, less ignorant, more humble, to listen, to believe, to break with apathy, to break with white solidarity. Psychologist Dr. Carolyn Borisenko would reveal the other two slides from the presentation. And she does. She shows you all the slides. You see them right here. Confronting racism, understanding what it means to be white, challenging what it means to be racist. So again, now right here, it's so only white people can be racist. You gotta understand what it means to be white, and to be white means you're racist, and then you have to challenge what it means to be racist. So there it is. There's no way a black person or an Asian person or a Hispanic person, they can be racist to anybody. Only white people can be racist. And then here it is right here. To be less white is to be less oppressive, less arrogant, to be less certain, less defensive, less ignorant, be more humble, listen, believe, break with apathy, break with white solidarity. Now, looking at these, less certain, like that would mean to me, like when you're correct about something, well, you need to be less certain about that. So what are you're saying that the standard of correctness is a white thing and it needs to be stopped? And less defensive. Well, if you're attacking me as being racist when I'm not being racist, am I supposed to just stand there and take it and just go, oh, I guess I won't say anything? I mean, again, and look at the two from the bottom of the two right before the very bottom. Listen and believe. Where have we heard all that before? Oh, gee, where are we? Oh, yeah, from feminism and people like Anita Sarkeesian. Listen and believe. Me too. Believe. #believe all women. Listen and believe. Don't question anything. Don't think about it. Don't use critical thinking. Don't ask questions. Listen and believe. And then break with white solidarity. What the hell is that? What, to say I'm not white anymore? To what, for me to, I gotta hate white people? Is that what you're telling me? I mean, because that's how I'm reading that. To hate white people, you must hate white people to be less oppressive, to be less white. You have to hate white people. I mean, what is this? And then I love this one here. The next one down here on the lower left hand. In the U.S. and other Western nations, white people are socialized to feel that they are inherently superior because they are white, which is an absolute lie. That is an absolute lie. I have never once been told, by anyone, save, if I saw some videos of KKK members or something, or neo-Nazis saying white power. I have never seen anybody, any schooling I had, any job I've worked, any place I've been out in public where people were saying, white people are superior because they're white. Nobody thinks that outside of a few cranks. Nobody. I certainly don't. Nobody who's white that I know thinks those things. But here we are. Here we are with this nonsense, So we start now with lies, and then research shows that by ages 3 to 4, children understand that it is better to be white. Really? Well, if that's the case, how do we have people like Rachel Dolezal and Shaun White, people who have spent years pretending to be black? I mean, if it's so great to be white and it's so much better, why would you pretend to be something that is less? These people wouldn't exist if that were true. The only way they would understand it's better to be white is if somebody who hates white people is telling non-white people that white people think this. That's the only way they would know that. They would have to be taught that by people who hate white people. And then, of course, you're right here at the end. Try to be less white. Now, again, Take all this and just flip it around. Try to be less black. Can you imagine the outcry? Can you imagine the outrage? To be less black is to be less oppressive, be less arrogant, be less certain, be less defensive, be less ignorant, be more humble, listen, believe, break with apathy, break with black solidarity. Again, if someone were to say that, that is absolutely racist. My God, that's horrible. But yet, when you do it towards white people, it's okay. Just like blackwashing. See, blackwashing is sort of like the baby step in my mind to all of this. This is how we get to places like this. You make it, it's somehow, it's wrong when white people do a certain thing, but then when it's done to white people, well, then it's okay. It's okay to do it to them, it's not okay for them to do it to others. And then from this, you always outgrow and you get to things like the whole Gina Carano saga. Where she was fired from Lucasfilm and Disney for a tweet that basically said, that how all this stuff begins is that people in power, people in positions of power, teach others to hate their neighbors, and then it makes it easier for them to then attack their neighbors for whatever reason is deemed necessary. As in this case would be, well, okay, so your people next door are white, well, you should hate those white people because they're white. But that's not racist. It's okay for you to feel that. If they hate you because you're non-white, well, they're racist. But if you hate them for being white, well, that's perfectly okay. This is how we get to these places. This is how we end up here. And like I said, this is the insidious nature of it. It all starts with something small. Oh, let's just take Supergirl and make her Latino. Let's just take John Constantine and make him black. Never mind that there's, Papa Midnight. We could do a whole entire movie on that guy who's actually a black mystic. No. We'll change the white guy. Never mind we could create a new black female superhero who could be, like Supergirl with super strength and flight and invulnerabilities and whatever. Don't do that, because that doesn't take anything away from white people. And that doesn't tell the non-white people that it's okay to take things from white people. Do you see how insidious this is? How diabolical? I mean, it almost sounds like a superhero type of script that this is being done, but it is. This is why this stuff matters. And again, it's patronizing as hell. It's patronizing and it's disenfranchising. It's disenfranchising to people who are fans of the white characters they race swap, who grow up, and even people who are not white people who love those white characters. Maybe because I'm sure there are people of color who love Johnny Storm as a white guy, or who love John Constantine as a white guy, and they love that character. They don't want him changed. Eric July, Young Ripa 59, right here on YouTube. Go check out his channel here after you get done watching this. He's got some great stuff. He actually just did a video yesterday on this stuff called, Stop Proving Me Right, because he's talked about this many a times, how patronizing and pandering this is to black people, and insulting. You're telling them they aren't worthy of their own creations. They got to have secondhand white hand-me-downs remade for them. And then on top of that, it also is patronizing, because it's also saying that that it's okay to do this to white people. And it's not, because Eric July, as a black man, would tell you he's totally against whitewashing and he's totally against blackwashing. He doesn't want them doing this crap for him. He's not out there demanding you need to change Nick Fury from a white man to a black man. He's not doing that. He doesn't want that. He never did. He never will. And there are plenty of non-white folks who feel the same as him. He's not some lone, example, just some guy on YouTube here. He's another one. He's against that kind of stuff. He thinks it's stupid. And he's right. This is what I'm talking about. You're tokenizing black people and brown people and Asian people, saying that all they are is their surface traits. Their skin color, their eye shape, the language maybe they use with the accents. That's what they are. They're nothing deeper than that. They have no real character, just their surface traits. Like I said, superficial diversity, not true diversity. And that's That's what I'm saying. You're tokenizing entire groups of people. You are patronizing groups of people, and you are disenfranchising groups of people based on race and gender and other things. But identity politics, this is it. Identity politics is poison. Identity politics is toxic. And it always starts out just like this, with just changing a comic book character or a movie character's race or gender or whatever. It's no big deal. It's not a thing. And then you end up try to be less white. And that's where you end up. And then the next step from this, my friends, is rounding up people for cattle cars to be sent to concentration camps. That's the next step. That's the next step after this. Because you got to understand that the list of stuff they have here, being oppressive or arrogant or ignorant, that's bad for anybody. It doesn't matter what skin color you are. That's just a negative trait. But then the other traits, like being certain or being defensive, if someone's coming at you, being told to listen and believe without question, these are things that are dangerous. And there are people who aren't going to follow those things. There are people who are going to say, no, I'm not going to stop being certain when I know I'm right. I'm not going to stop being defensive when I know you're trying to insult me or come at me. I'm not going to just listen and believe without using critical thinking skills. There are people who will do that. I'm one of them. I will do that. And so, we are the ones who will end up on the cattle cars in the end as this stuff grows. Like I said, this is how it always begins. This is how it always begins. Gina Carano got canceled because of this. Because she brought up the point, this very point. This is wrong. This stuff is wrong. It leads nowhere good. But because people can't get over their hatred, because they can't get over their jealousy, because they can't get over the fact that, whatever their issues are, their mommy issues, their daddy issues, their anger at society because it didn't give them everything they wanted and they thought they deserved, and whatever else, whatever their issues are, however deep it runs, this is always a bad place to go. This is never where you want to go, and we seem to be warping there at warp speed, and it's a scary thing. It is a very, very scary thing. I mean, I never thought in my lifetime that I would ever see this kind of thing. I thought this kind of thing was in the past. This kind of racism and this kind of hatred of people and groups. I mean, I thought this was all just words in history books, and for decades it was. In the 80s and the 90s and even the early aughts, I never thought about race. I never thought about people that way. I still don't. I don't. I judge the way Martin Luther King taught, on content of character, not color of skin. And yet here we are. And we're doing the exact opposite now. It's totally inverted. I mean, Martin Luther King has to be rolling over in his grave so fast that if you hook up to a windmill, you could probably generate some electricity for people in Texas. That's how madly he's spinning right now. I mean, it's opposite of everything. And we really need to start paying attention to this stuff. So you may look at Constantine, Supergirl, and go to me and go, oh well, it's no big deal. It's just comics. It's just movies. It doesn't matter. But really, yeah, it kind of does. It kind of does matter. And so I'm glad to bring this to you so you could see firsthand again how this stuff always grows. It never stays contained where you think it will. It won't just stay in comics and movies. It won't just stay in entertainment industry. It's already growing out further. And it's only going to continue to grow as long as we sit here and let people like that girl in that video I showed you go around saying, well, that's not a thing. It's okay. It's a good thing. No, it's not. Blackwashing is not a good thing. Just like whitewashing is not a good thing. Neither of those are good things. And anyone who would say otherwise is either a racist, a fool, or both. And your humble host here, I am neither one. So I will always call that crap out for what it is. And I guess that's about all on this then. I want to thank you for joining me. I hope I've given you some stuff to think about, giving you some some ideas on just what's going on in this and why, you know, like I said, we really need to pay attention to this. We can't just keep blowing this stuff off and just, who cares? No, we should care. You know, we're getting to a point where we're trying to tell people, you know, that being a certain race is a problem. And that's not a good place to go. That is not any place any of us, no matter what race we are, should want things to go. And we really need to start paying attention to this stuff. So, but again, I want to thank you for joining me. Like I said, I hope I gave you some stuff to think about in all this, because like I said, I'm always thinking. You know, I'm a deep thinker. You know, it's maybe a little too deep sometimes. Some might tell you, but you know, I want to thank you for joining me. Like I said, make sure to sub to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you can keep up when I do live streams like this. You know, little streams of consciousness, thought, and stuff. You know, put together some interesting bits for you guys. And like I said, and hope you're all out there doing okay, especially, like I said, especially people down in Texas. You know, we're praying for you. And before I head out today, I'm going to do some last-minute sharing with you and just give you a couple reminders here. First of all, that if you want to keep up with us, you can always head over to MeWe. This is our MeWe page right here on MeWe. This is our group. This is what we do, and this is where I post up all kinds of stuff. Like you can see here, we got the latest art from Bob Smith I just got in. I'll probably be putting up some of that stuff either tonight or tomorrow. You know, and we got, you know, my Wednesday comic art Wednesday posts are always fun. You know, anytime there's, you know, any new works coming out, any new art available, anything of interest to people, I always post it up here. So just come on, join on MeWe, and then just come over to the groups, and Sequential Treasures right there at the top. Just look for Wolverine and Cable about to throw down, and you can't miss it. That's our one place, and our other place is right here. Let me just get that up. And there we go. This is our comic art gallery where all the art from our artist is at. This is where the new stuff from Bob Smith will be once I get it posted up in the next like 24 48 hours. You can see here we got lots of great art for sale, sketch covers and pages and paintings and, you know, prelims, all kinds of cool stuff. You know, if you love sequential art like I do, you definitely want to come on by. Here's some stuff from our last time we up there with Bob Smith. It's still got plenty of Archie stuff on hand. We got stuff from Marvel, DC, Image, all over the place. So I mean, pretty much something for everybody. Just come on by right here. Both our MeWe and the art gallery are linked down there in the description section here on this this live stream, so you can come on over and check all that out. And yeah, you know, hope to see you there. And until next time, you know, when hopefully I got some more to say about something, an important topic like this, I'll hit you up again. But hopefully I'll have something for you sooner than later. I don't like going too long. It was quite a while between these last two sequential thinking pieces, and want to try to keep them going a little more frequently. So until then, take care.